Anthony Castrovince. He is a MLB national reporter for MLB.com, also an author. So let's take a look at this. Has written a book, A Fan's Guide to Baseball Analytics, and you can buy this Amazon Books, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, and wherever books are sold. Baseball Analytics, A Fan's Guide to Baseball Analytics by Anthony Castrovince. Anthony, let's talk a little bit about analytics. How much fun did you have doing that? And you know, when we were growing up, analytics wasn't really, you know, it was a scout saying, "Boy, the ball comes off his bat, I can just see it." That's not the way they do it anymore.
No, it's not. And yet, I think when people do dig into this stuff, they realize how scouty, if I can invent a word, it really is. Because, yeah, the ball comes off his bat. Well, now we can measure that, you know. He's hitting it hard, but he's hitting into some bad luck. Well, now we can measure that. We can see how much bad luck a guy's hitting into or how much good luck he's hitting into. So I had more fun writing this book than I thought, and probably you might think, because math is not necessarily fun. And a lot of these statistics have a barrier to entry just from the start because they have these weird names and they're easy to make fun of. And, you know, WAR, what is it good for? Those hacky jokes. But, I think it's important for fans to understand this stuff because, you know, when you really look at batting average and RBIs and wins and saves and all the stats we grew up with, a lot of faults in terms of how they're calculated and what they relay. And I do my best to explain those faults in as conversational a tone as I can, and then I take you through all the relevant metrics. And there's a million different stats out there, but I take you through all the ones that are, you know, relevant that you're likely to read or just hear about on broadcast, et cetera, or even now see on scoreboards. You know, you see OPS on scoreboards these days. So I try to take the reader through them again in a conversational tone, in a fun tone. Try to make it more accessible because I feel like, you know, it doesn't do baseball any good to have people talking down to people and making them feel stupid for still citing batting average. It's just that if you haven't taken the time to understand these stats, I can understand why you would just have an aversion to them. But if you see how fun it can be to compare eras, or in a 60-game season like this, you know, no one's going to hit 30 home runs. No one's going to drive in 100 runs. No one's going to win 20 games. Batting average is going to be all over the place because it's such a small sample of games. So I think these advanced metrics will do an even better job of helping you understand, you know, who is performing, who's not, because a lot of them are relative to the league average. So they're just comparing you against your peers in this particular moment. And we're going to be in a moment in a 60-game season that has never happened before in baseball. So you're going to need that fair apples to apples comparison.
What was the most fun in doing that? And you mentioned you weren't really a stat geek or a math guy. What was the most fun with doing it? Again, the book by Anthony Castrovince is A Fan's Guide to Baseball Analytics. You can get it at Amazon Books, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, and wherever books are sold. A Fan's Guide to Baseball Analytics. What was the most fun that you had in doing that?
Well, I've been covering Major League Baseball for 16 years, and I've had to learn these stats as I've, you know, progressed as a writer and as they have progressed in terms of just being a part of the conversation. But for me, what was fun was really learning the history behind some of them. I frankly did not know the history behind some of them until I really dug into it for the purposes of this book and to explain where they came from and why they were derived the way they were. And it's also just fun just coming up with trivia. There's a lot of trivia in the book. There's a lot of attempts to get people to see things a different way, perhaps see players from, you know, many decades ago in a different way. You won't see Gene Tennis the same way after reading this book as you did previously. You'll have a greater appreciation for him. There's a lot of players like that over the course of reading it that you'll gain an appreciation for what they were good at and when they were good at it. And as I said, I think that's the real fun of advanced analytics. It's a better way to compare eras. You know, it's hard to compare Babe Ruth to Francisco Lindor. They played in two very different times, but when you see what they did relative to their peers in their time, you know, that's where you can start to make comparisons.